A pleasant day to each and everyone. My name is Melvin Giabinar, your today's discussant. So I was assigned to discuss the practice of blended learning. So without so much ado, let us start our discussion. The introduction. Education is no longer just about putting pen to paper and memorizing facts. Today, innovative educators in both higher education and corporate learning and development are improving learning through technology, as evidenced by the rapid adoption of technology, assisted teaching methods, and blended learning models. What is blended learning? Blended learning, also known as hybrid learning, is a method of teaching that integrates technology and digital media with traditional instructor-led classroom activities, giving students more flexibility to customize their learning experience. So, what does it mean? Since we are now living in the 21st century, as we observe, there are rampant of technologies. In today's life in learning and teaching process, we integrate technology. So, ginagamitan na natin ngayon ng teknolohiya para makapagturo. So, isa sa mga ginagamit para sa pag-enhance and pag-develop ng learning is ang technology. In general, blended learning refers to the following. Some learning happens online format where the students has control over the path and pace at which they engage with content. Some learning happens in an instructor-led classroom. Online in-person learning is complementary, creating a truly integrated learning environment. The followings are the blended learning concepts. So here they are. The first one is the face-to-face teaching. Second is student interaction with course content. Peer group interaction. Group discussion and exchange of ideas. Accessing e-library. Virtual classroom. E-tuitions. Accessing and maintaining educational blogs. Webinars. Viewing expert lectures and YouTube. And the last one was the virtual laboratories. So let us move on to the main characteristics of blended learning. Students have the option of the two modes. Students in blended learning can select either the traditional mode of classroom teaching where they can get personal interaction with teacher and their classmates, or they can choose ICT supported teaching learning. This largely depends on the nature of content and objectives being targeted. Sometimes, course designer or teachers themselves decide on the mode appropriate for topic being dealt with. So that was the first characteristics. Next, teachers are well versed with both the two modes. It is an important feature of the blended learning that teachers are very dynamic, techno-savvy, and fully trained to work efficiently in both the formats traditional classroom format and ICT supported format. They will be well equipped in using traditional methods and other modern technologies. The next one, students get face-to-face interaction as well. They interact in virtual space. Students get ample of time to interact with other students pursuing same course. They can interact with them inside college campus and also in virtual space. Thus, their group become very large and has diversity, so the student knowledge become wide and they also develop a feeling of understanding, love, and harmony with students of other cultures and countries. The next one, students get full experience in using new technology. The present century is the century of ICT. Today, the illiterate is not only the one who cannot read and write, but a person who is not well versed with modern technologies is also illiterate. Today, all professionals or professions demand expertise in ICT. So blended learning help to make students' ICT experience rich. Students involved in blended learning gain capability to exploit available technologies to the fullest of their benefit. Students get training in different life skills. Life skills are those skills that are needed to lead a happy, peaceful, and successful life. The major life skills are empathy, decision-making capability, love, patience, communication, self-management, critical thinking. The blended learning helps the students to practice these skills. Students get acquainted with few skills like love, empathy, patience in classroom through his teachers, classmates, and few like self-management, decision-making, critical thinking, communication through the online experiences. Next, all-round development of personality is targeted. In blended learning, the students get full opportunity for all-round development of the personality. All the aspects of personality, namely cognitive, physical, and emotional, are developed through blended learning, which is difficult to achieve in traditional mode or ICT approach if followed in isolation. Tradition classroom teaching is helpful in memory level and understanding level of teaching, and so help in cognitive domain development and at the same time teachers' behavior. Playground experience and social group with classmates develop affective and physical domain at the same time. Online experiences help in reflective level of learning, so develop higher faculties of mean and social networking sites and other social interaction, though internet help in right type of value development. The next characteristic, physical development is possible within school campus. The online learning in ICT supports teaching learning process is often targeted in the blame that it ignores physical development of the students. The blended learning overcome this limitation as it included school experience also, so students get time for playing, physical work, yoga inside the college campus. Next, students get wide exposure and new perspectives of the course content. Due to variety of experience, students get wide exposure and their content knowledge is enriched. They get to see various new dimensions of the content, gain practical useful knowledge. The next one, it has a human touch. Due to physical presence of teacher by a traditional approach, students get that human touch which is very necessary for balanced student emotional quotient and very necessarily up to secondary level. The next characteristics, it provides multicultural and multidimensional approach to teaching learning process. Blended learning approach provides student opportunity to communicate and share views and feeling with the students all over the world. Thus, it makes teaching learning process multicultural and variety of experience bring with it the interdisciplinary and multidimensional factor also. The next one makes teaching learning process child-centered. Blended learning is designed to provide maximum gain to student and thus reach the goal of child-centered education. The next one, diverse role of teacher. Teacher in blended learning is playing different role. Traditional role of a teacher in classroom. She acts as motivator, as a resource person, as an organizer, as a developer. When she develops content, to be provided through ICT as a guide on the side. Thus, teacher gets freedom from the monotonous traditional rules, and she can try her hands in diverse areas that are good for her professional growth. So we will move on to the last characteristic of blended learning. Students construct knowledge rather than just consuming it. Blended learning also includes constructivism. Students construct their own knowledge. So that was the characteristic of blended learning. So we will proceed to the prerequisite of blended learning. So we have here the first one, well-trained teachers. Second, teachers with scientific attitude. Teachers with wider outlook and positive approach towards change. Complete facilities like students have access to internet at their private computers. Flexibility in the system. Fully aware and agreed parents. Formative evaluation and continuous internal assessment. So we will move on to the advantages of blended learning. The first one, the part of learning is done through ICT, online or offline mode, so teachers and students get more time in classroom for creative and cooperative exercise. The second one, students gain advantage of online learning and CAI without losing social interaction element and human touch of traditional teaching. The third one, it provides more scope for communication. Communication cycle is completed in blended learning, which is not possible if we follow only traditional approach. The next one is students have more strengthened professionalism as they develop qualities like self-motivation, self-responsibility, and discipline. The last one, it updates course content and so gives new life to established courses. So we will move on to the examples of blended learning. So I have here a pictures that represent the blended learning in the classroom. So the first picture, as what you can see, we have the teacher and the students. So if I'm not mistaken, it is a traditional one wherein teacher is just the one who is talking a lot and the students is just sitting and listening to the teacher. So that was the first picture. The second picture illustrates the usage of technology in the learning process. So yung mga bata is gumagamit ng technology sa kanilang pag-aaral. The third picture shows students using modules and other printed materials in their learning process. The next picture represent students using gadgets in their learning process. So the teacher are just at their back guiding them. So the students will be the one who explore, search, and learn a lot through themselves. So the next picture represents students using devices, using gadgets while they are learning. So ginagamit nila, ini-integrate nila yung gadgets para matuto. The last picture represents a teacher using gadgets in their teaching. So, ginagamit ng guro yung tablet sa pagtuturo. So, ini-integrate niya yung technology sa kanyang pagtuturo. And before I end my report, I have here a short quotation that represents the blended learning. So, the value in blended learning comes from the ability to create student-centered lessons that give students to practice skills they need to develop at their own pace. So, it was by Cheryl Castillo. So, I guess that's the end of my report. Thank you for listening and God bless us all.